Hey, everyone. Welcome to Lunch Break with ATI. I am Cindy Collins, one of the co-founders of Actors Theater of Indiana, the resident professional theater company at the Center for the Performing Arts right here in Carmel, Indiana. So thank you for joining us. And today, my guest, our guest, ATI's guest is Sue Finkam.
Hi.
Yes, hello. And thanks for being here, Sue. And today we're going to chit-chat about all kinds of things with Sue in the 15 minutes that we have, because I can squeeze a hell of a lot into that 15 minutes, maybe 20. Maybe we might go over a little bit today. So, but Sue is running for mayor
Yay!
of Carmel. Okay, so very exciting. Jim Brainerd is finished with his reign. He's done a wonderful job, wonderful to this company and wonderful to the city of Carmel. And I don't have to tell everybody all the changes that are going on in Carmel and his vision of everything that has happened here in this city is really, really spectacular. And but it's a changing of the guard. And Sue is that guard, one of them.
Exactly.
She is one
Hope
of
to be. Working hard to be.
She's one of the guards that is running. Miles Nelson is running on the Democratic ticket. You are on the Republican ticket. And before I do want to say one thing.
Yes.
Which I like. Which
Okay.
is just me, my opinion, because I always have one. I love that this here, right, and that the city council, and Miles told me this too, and I like, because I asked him way back, this was just when he was a guest on here, he wasn't running, he was on the council, and I said, he said, the mayor is great. He's like, it doesn't matter our parties, he was so welcoming to me, the city council, the other councilors, he said, that's what it's about. And I think you probably think that way too.
Agreed.
Whoever is on the city council, you're all in the same boat. Everybody's goal, you would think, be the same thing.
Right.
The best for the city, the best for the citizens, the best for the taxpayers, the voter, yada, yada, right?
Yep.
And to me, because of what's happening now in our big government, not local, but in our federal government, with everybody bickering and so forth and so on, and all the madness that has been going on, it's nice. It's actually nice to see the different parties working together.
Hey, in Carmel, we've got such an amazing community that's been here for years, that supported the schools, that supported growth, that supported excellence all around. Right. And so when you say we want the same thing, absolutely. Now, sometimes how we get there might be a little different. We want to take a different path here or there.
Completely. Yeah, of course.
But that's healthy to talk about, and that's actually interesting for people to weigh in on, right? Like, you have opinions, I have opinions, everybody has opinions.
Wow, sure.
It's whether or not they feel comfortable talking. But that's why we go door to door, right? That's why we literally knock and annoy people on a Sunday afternoon on a holiday weekend to say, hey, I'm Sue, I'm running for mayor. What do you think about our future should look like? And how do you want us as a leader to, guide us in this next few years? So It's super interesting to be on the campaign trail. And it's, again, I think really rewarding to hear from people, both from the fact that they're so proud of the community that they live in or they work in or both, but they also have their opinions and their desires for their family, their workplace, their way of life. Absolutely. So one of the things I had to learn when I got on council was we aren't one big committee. Right? From being from the corporate work setting, where you come together in the marketing group or the strategy group or whatever, and you all say, this is what we're going to accomplish together. We all have our independent roles to weigh in on. It's not like that on city council. So it took a little while to say, okay, it's more like United Nations.
Okay.
Right? We all represent a certain area of town who has different needs and wants and desires.
Right.
3 are at large, 6 are districts, but we all have to come together and eventually get down the road. It's how you compromise or don't compromise, how you position issues, how you represent your constituency. Is very different. So it took a little while to figure that out.
Well, because you're right, because everybody is different, and there's all parts of Carmel that are different.
Exactly.
We live in the, we're over on 136th Street, and
East or West?
We're
East side, West side. Which one is it?
We're in the village of Mount Carmel.
Okay, kind of west.
We're in the village of Mount Carmel. That's what I know, and I know my address. So, that is an older neighborhood, right? But people I like it because the homes are older. See, and they're
big, beautiful trees,
and the trees are mature.
Yeah.
And the homes were all built in the 70s, and they're solid, and so it's a really great neighborhood actually, and so we moved in there, and we really like it a lot because Jim Riley lived there. Okay, Jim and PJ Riley. Jim is our executive director. He lived there. He said, you should look in our neighborhood. You'll find a house. And we were like, awesome. And we did. We did. So it's nice. But even that's changing because obviously people get older, they move away, they retire, they sell their homes. So that's transitioning, right?
Absolutely.
So that's happening not just in that neighborhood, I'm sure, but in the other older neighborhoods, possibly in Carmel. So mindsets are changing, right? So you're representing the people like you guys, you represent your different districts, and that's probably constantly changing,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
So you got to keep up on like you said, like what are the needs, right? Yeah. How much are you, I know this from some other people who are on the council, like do you get phone calls just constantly? Now, especially now you're running for mayor, right?
So it's interesting. So first, I think is you get out what you put into it. So when I was first on council, the first probably 18 months, I was like, I don't hear from anybody.
Right.
I'm like, I know they have issues because when I see my friends at the grocery store or at the gym or whatever, they ask me about projects or progress. And so I started doing a newsletter, and I got a lot more feedback at that point. So I think as I was being more aggressive and intentional.
What do you think?
I think one, yes, they didn't want to bother me. Two, I think me being new on council, they didn't know me.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think it was both. And then I think as people get more comfortable, they'll text or call. Or, now the challenge for I think all of us on council is Facebook Messenger, Facebook, or Twitter DMs. Like it's everything you can name. Text.
You're on everything.
Newsletters, emails,
you're on
everywhere.
Social media, right?
Well, and it's better. Like someone reached out to me about this project. Where did they reach out to me at? Trying to find that's really challenging. You don't have an aggregator that just brings it under one spot,
right.
Which would be nice if we did. But so it doesn't ring all the time. I will tell you when there's a hot project coming through, and it first comes through. Right now in my district is the Conner Prairie potential expansion to the west side of the river.
Oh, okay, right.
When that was first announced, there was a lot of feedback. I also asked the developer to send out 1,200 letters to have people come to meetings to get more information. That helps, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of ebbs and flows.
And they're stretching that out as part of Conner Prairie, as part of the what they do what that expansion.
Yes.
What's on it?
Great, you asked. Since it's timely, we have to approve it in council before October 25th. When it comes over from Plan Commission, we have a 90-day clock.
It's not that far away,
right?
Think
so
about it.
It's really not. So the west side of the river, they want to have a food, farm, and energy experience talking about agriculture, the 49 weeks of the year that the State Fair doesn't talk about it. How do we get our food? Talk about food insecurity. How do we use energy 100 years ago? How might we use energy in 100 years from now? Okay. Have it to be a place where big brands that we probably know can explore and demonstrate how they produce food, how they produce energy.
Isn't Red Gold ketchup here?
Yeah, exactly. It's an Indiana
that.
brand for sure.
Right,
so they might
that's
be
an
one.
example.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
And then they want to have another area that explores and celebrates the river, and there's some beautiful aquifer that's below ground here in Carmel. How people come through that? What fish species are here? Have a virtual aquarium. They want to have a hospitality piece with a hotel. That has been a challenge for some of our residents.
Oh my gosh.
And they have an office space, and that's another challenge for some of our residents. So, but I think what people need to understand, these projects when they come through are always a process. Our community does a great job managing projects as they come through for approval. We have this complete voluntary plan commission who put their heart and soul in these projects and making sure that they're going to meet the needs of our neighbors. And those people are appointed by the mayor, the county, the city council, a variety of different entities. And then they come to the elected officials on council. We step off from where they left off and then, beat up the developer a little bit more to get a little bit more out of it. but because we're responding to what we think our residents want, right? Or what we've heard from them, or what we have felt like is a missing need in our community.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds interesting to me, but I'm not a resident over there. See, I'm not near it. So to me, it sounds interesting. I'm like, oh my gosh, how great. It's educational. It'll be more like they do at Conner Prairie. I'm assuming it'll be like more like live interaction with the way they do it now.
We don't want the noise and the sound over there. It's really quiet and dark over there.
Right.
So we're saying we don't want the Conner Prairie Symphony on the Prairie.
No.
Right?
Right.
But to have a couple people in for an educational mission.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think there's been a strong support for Conner Prairie in the area. You know, Carmel residents have taken their kids to Conner Prairie, the Apple Store, to all that. Now the balloon ride, Headless Horseman, right? For decades. So now it's like, well, it'll be a benefit and asset to community residents if we can get it right, and I think we will.
Okay, I think it sounds interesting. I mean, it's not like you're just building something.
Right.
Hi, we're going to build another office building.
Exactly.
We're going to build a hotel, which that might be a part of it. However, you have that education coming into it.
Right.
And I also think it's more employment.
It is.
It's more employment in the area.
And we're asking some of those questions right now, like what's the building used for? How many square feet? How many visitors? And what are the number of jobs in it?
Yeah, that's important.
And so that's something we typically do with any type of investment. And I think it is an investment, even though it's nonprofit. It's an investment because we have roads to manage and police will have to take care of the area.
Infrastructure too. I mean, what about everything that has to go along with it? Building a building a building. You know, look at this out here outside of our office. What's happening? All the
some dirt being moved out there.
A little bit of dirt. Yeah, they're just shuffling that around. I think it's all a ruse. Myself, it's all smoke and mirrors. But
we should have a day for the little kids to come out and move their little dirt movers out there, though. An interactive day for the little ones.
That's educational. Just as long as they don't get run over with something. Oh my gosh.
Surely we can put up a sign.
Oh my gosh. But tell me, I'm assuming I'm just assuming, but I don't know. Were you born here in Indiana?
Nope.
Okay. Go.
Northern Michigan.
Okay.
Can I use the map?
The map.
The Michigan map.
The mitten.
The mitten, exactly.
Mitten.
An hour and a half south of the Mackinac Bridge. It's a tiny little town, heavily forested, and middle of a forest up there. So my summers were running around like a wild child in the, from lake to horseback trail to river motorbike stuff. So yeah, exactly. It was great. So moved up there, came down here 2 years after college. So I've been here since 92 or 90 actually.
Where'd you go to? What's your
Central Michigan. Fire up chips. A Mac school.
Oh my God.
So I can't stop. You know, when you're a sports medicine undergrad, you root for a lot of Central Michigan teams.
Oh
right?
My gosh. So that's what you were, sports medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Then what'd you do? Okay, so you graduate. You're like, I'm going to Indiana.
Yep. Came down here for a job. Evolved from sports medicine to industrial athlete care to ergonomics to healthcare marketing. A curvy path, but I'm also one, I don't really go for job titles. I go for adventure. Right. If it's not going to be exciting and fun. One of my personality things said I was a hedonist. I was like, oh, is that bad as a manager or a leader? But actually it just means you want to inject fun in everything. And so that's important to me, that I have something that makes a difference, that I can see progress being made and we have fun along the way. And
you can't be, if you're miserable.
Exactly.
Well, that's the problem. If you're miserable, everyone is around you and will be miserable.
Yep.
That energy that you pass around it's awful, right? And then things just implode.
And I've had a couple jobs where weren't that fun, and you evolve away from them, or at least I did, because like this isn't filling my soul.
Sometimes you have to take the job too. Sometimes you're like, okay, I got to work, So you have to, but that might be a stepping stone to something that you really have
a bridge
your
job
heart into. Yeah, it's true. I mean, my gosh, it's better than not working.
Yep,
right?
For sure.
That's just But okay, so oh my God, what made you even say, okay, listen, Jim Brainerd's leaving, so maybe I'll run for mayor?
Yeah.
I mean, how long? Obviously, that's a huge decision.
Yep, for sure.
Because the mayor takes a lot of beating.
Yeah.
More than the city council people, because you're
sure.
the head honcho, kind of in the eyes of the city,
Yep.
And so, do you want that beating? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what made you be like, I think I can do this?
Well, I knew my experience from a business executive standpoint matched up really well. Jim's done such a tremendous job building this incredible community and really giving us identity as far as this incredible urban built environment, our transportation network, our quality of life, right? Of course, supporting the arts. We really have this idea with the Palladium and the arts campus. And so it's just amazing. So as we look forward, I feel like my skills really match up where he's kind of leaving us off.
Okay.
Strong fiscal mindset. Really, I've been in so many roles. I do community engagement, citizen engagement, employee engagement, and that's really needed right now. We have so many people coming into the community, so many people have lived here for so many years. Like, let's really get a gauge for what they want, where they want us to take this community. My marketing background, clearly keeping us in the forefront of folks across the country. And then economic development. I mean, that's so akin to marketing and really using data to make decisions is another thing that I've been known for with marketing and leadership. So I think those skills really match up nicely to build off of Mayor's.
So what you're doing, right? You're taking where he left off. You're taking over.
Yep, exactly.
You have the same vision.
Yep, exactly.
You're continuing his vision, and what he strived for, and probably what he would continue striving for if he stayed. Right?
Yeah, just with a little few fine tuning to match who I am as a leader.
Right.
More transparency. Right. More community engagement.
Right.
More intentional marketing, like just some very specific things. But I don't see the community is going to see drastic, radical changes. Yeah. But certainly they're going to be invited in much more than they ever have before. So and that's important to me.
That's what exactly. Like what?
And it's harder. Right. It's harder.
It's all hard, right? I mean, like even just running for council now, running for mayor, and being in charge of all that. And here's the thing. That's the thing. You're continuing his vision, but then what are you, Sue Finkam, right? Like, what's your heart you're bringing to it almost? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can say all those things like, we are going to be fiscally responsible, and I am like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, that's the politician. Yeah. But like you, Sue, you obviously care about this community. How long have you lived in Carmel?
Since 2007. We moved here to get my son in the school system as a kindergartner.
Okay. So the school system's excellent here.
Exactly.
Excellent. And the arts in the schools here are fantastic. I am so impressed when we moved here from New York, because I was like, what, and I was like, oh my gosh, the arts in these schools is fantastic.
5 symphonies or something crazy like that.
I was like, this is wonderful, right? And I'm like, what's in the water here with these kids, with the talent, Even before I moved here, I worked at theaters in this state, like we do, we work everywhere in the country. And I had done shows with younger, you're in a show, say, you do an Annie or something, or you're doing, and I'm like, what the hell is in the water here in Indiana? These kids are super talented. But what is like your what's like your real, I guess I'd just say heart that you're bringing if you are elected mayor?
I think I do that heart for engagement. I really do want people to feel like they're heard, right? And there's so many ways to say we don't belong today. I want them to feel like they belong in this community. Right. And we have radically different people, views, cultures, backgrounds, right? But I want people to really feel like there's multiple ways to weigh in and that we really care. That is on my heart for sure. The second thing, and I've talked about all primary, is I really want to highlight and celebrate this international community that we have. Right. And every community to some extent is becoming more international, but it's like the talent with the kids. We have this incredible culture here that's just burgeoning from an international aspect, and I want to embrace that with all that we can, build an international center, highlight the culture, the art, the food, the faith. Updated numbers, I said 102 in the spring. It's now 109 different languages are spoken in the homes of kids that go to Carmel schools in this community. Oh, wow. Incredible, right? From like over 80 countries. Right. Let's celebrate that and understand, like, hey, I've never had Ethiopian food as an example I use, right?
It's it's excellent.
I've heard it's great, but I don't know I don't know the culture, the customs, right? And so, like, if we have an international center that says, hey, this period of time we're highlighting Ethiopian food and culture and, faith and all those things. Cool. It gives me one thing that I have in common with someone in this community that I didn't have before. Right. It gives me a common place to have a conversation and get to know and have a relationship with people. Yeah. I think building those bridges are really important. Yeah. Now, it's a little bit building the bridge as we walk across it, right? Because we're already an international community. But that is really important to me as a human. Maintaining our arts. I was a music kid. I went to school, started out as a music major and sports medicine major, and then they told me, you can't do both of these together. So I want to make sure we have that.
Oh my
God.
So I had 7 majors.
I did. Well, they said you can't do that. Arts is always in the afternoon. Sports is always in the afternoon. You'll be 7 years because I thought I'd be a teacher that taught music, but I was also the athletic trainer for the school.
Okay.
That wasn't.
Did you play an instrument in high school or something?
Yeah, French horn was my primary. Trumpet was my secondary.
Hard.
Yeah. I also played piano. I learned clarinet, saxophone. Right. I thought I was going to be this band director, so I was starting to do that.
Right.
I sang. I was in civic theater.
Yeah,
so
good.
I love this about our community. That's one of the things that was really attractive here.
And that's great because you have a connection with that, because people who do that, and they might not go into the arts,
right?
And that happens more often than not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But you have the appreciation.
Yeah.
You have the knowledge of what it takes, right?
Yeah,
the arts
absolutely.
are hard. The arts is not for weaklings.
Yes.
It's tough.
Yes.
And so you
like
have
politics.
Well, it's
you're gonna get some criticism, right?
That's you're gonna get criticized.
Yeah.
You're gonna get people who don't like you or don't like your performance.
Yeah.
Right now that you're performing, but it is like that. You have to be a good orator.
Well, you have to make a cut.
You have to.
You have to make a cut. Somebody got on that stage.
That's right. You didn't get the call back or the role, and it is similar in some ways, because you're putting yourself out there. Right? So, and that's scary.
Yeah. I love the quote, though, that pressure is a privilege, and that has to apply in performing arts, right? Because you have that pressure
God, it's terrible sometimes,
to do the auditions with them, to be on the stage for the...
But then it's all worth it.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
that, right?
Payoff.
So you go through all that, but then when you do get the gig, it's like you don't even, it doesn't even matter what you had to go through. You got the gig.
You're so insane.
You got the gig. It just makes up for all of that. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Getting your position or getting that, being elected totally makes up for it. And then there's the next step of there's that work to do
exactly.
after you get the gig. You're like, oh my God, wait a minute. I got it. Now you got to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all these rehearsals, right? Or let's just lie,
got to deliver, and I think that you being on how long have you been on the council?
12 years.
Yeah. So that's a good chunk, and knowing how the city's grown while you've been on that council, how everybody kind of worked together, how new people came in, other people left, handling that, handling criticism, my gosh, so you're used to that, which is good. Because I can, all the criticism that Jim got, that the mayor got. I mean, I read about it and be like, oh my God,
Until you're in that seat, you don't really know, right?
Right.
But I know that he's got a lot, and he's
you gotta have thick
very
skin.
responsive.
You gotta have thick skin.
Yeah.
And you gotta just be like, okay, they didn't like what I did. You can't. You can take it to heart, but you can't let it get you down.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I think that's great. I didn't know any of that about you, about the music, about the, I mean, that's wonderful to know because this center over here, it's there.
Yes.
It's built. It happened.
We will support it.
And it has to. Now heaven forbid, no matter, if it becomes a white elephant,
right.
If it fails, to me, if it fails, right, that's a disaster.
It won't fail
for Carmel.
It's doing well. It's performing well, and we just have to make sure we support it with the line item in the budget that we've had for years, right? Eventually, the bonds will be paid off, right? And then it's just operating costs we have to support. And it amazes to me. It's amazing to me as many zip codes and really country codes that visit there, but still, there's people in this community that haven't seen a show there yet.
No idea.
So many people after our primary debate in the spring have said, "I've never been in there."
No idea.
So crazy.
They say that to me. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Tell me you've never been to any of those theaters? Not just you've never been to one of our shows. You've never been in the Palladium? I'm like, wait a second. You can't miss it.
Yes, it's right there.
And so, and it's lovely, and I love personally performing in there. I love singing on that stage and performing on that stage. I mean, it's just one of the nicest concert halls I've ever sung in.
I'm always disappointed when we see especially a national touring act. And it doesn't happen very often because usually they start out with like, wow, look at this facility, it's amazing, and all these people. And it's always disappointing to me when someone just starts out and plays and they don't recognize what a special stage they're standing on, and maybe that's a little homey pride.
Well, but I can speak to one part of that where if you're touring, and I've toured, and you're touring, right? And you're in a theater,
It's like, what's the theater?
And then you're in a theater. And then you're in a theater. And each time you are like, you're looking around, you're like, okay, here we are. And you're loading in and you're having to do your tech and showing everything. And sometimes it's not noticed because it's not gorgeous, they don't appreciate it. It's just like, you're on tour and you're in another spot, you know what I mean?
I'm tired, I just want to go home.
And you're doing your job, right? Now, I'd walk in here and I would, even on tour, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. And most people, I have heard most artists, they want to have said that.
Oh, absolutely.
Have said
but
that.
There's been a couple like, just say it.
Yeah.
Just say it.
I know.
Acknowledge it's a special space. And
Yeah.
Carmel, with all the community support, has put something special on the map. So.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And it's it is the Midwest.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of that across this, like Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, but there's not a place like that.
Right.
Or the center with those theaters.
Right.
I mean, we're in the studio, we have the Booth Tarkington, you have the Palladium, and you have all those resident companies using all those spaces.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, if one resident company bombs, to me, I think that is detrimental to the other, because now it's less people. Now it's less people coming in.
Right.
And I don't care what show you're going to. I don't care if the patrons are going to a show. They're going to see, what's Actors Theater of Indiana doing on the screens.
Yep.
They're going to the symphony. They're going to see on those screens what else is going on there. And I think that is so important. So if one goes, that's less of the bodies going in there.
I think it's incumbent on the next mayor too to really invest in economic development.
Yeah.
And to really, it's one of the things that you said, talking on my heart, I really want to make sure we have a true economic development department and function.
Yeah.
One, too many people don't know where Indiana is and what we have. So in working, collaborating with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation and our peers here in Hamilton County, Westville, Noblesville, Fishers, and those mayors, to make sure that Hamilton County is known, all of our assets and amenities, are on the top of the mind of site selectors and those who are relocating companies or people looking to relocate anywhere they can in the country because they can work remotely.
Yeah.
We have to do a very targeted and intentional job of making sure Carmel and all that we have here is on the map, because that also supports the arts, right? If we have a thriving community where people are coming and going for work, for travel, businesses relocating, and to really work with our business community to support our arts. That has to be active and thriving as well from the mayor standpoint to make sure we support it.
Well, the more people, more people working here, more people supporting, support your community. I don't care if you live there a year.
Exactly.
I don't care if, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, buy local, support local. I grew up that way. A small, my dad was mayor.
Awesome. So, I didn't know that.
On the town council and he was mayor.
That's fun.
Support local, right? And he was born and died in our town.
Is that right?
Right? So he was in for a penny, in for a pound, right? So he was doing it for the reasons that he cared about. Cared about where he was born, and his community. But that's right. That's the mindset.
We talk about 140
have.
Headquarters here and hundreds of other businesses, and we could get a $10,000 sponsor for ATI, or we get $10,000 sponsors, right? Where it's more palatable, more easier for smaller businesses, but it's amazing, or couples or families.
Yes.
So we need to make sure we're constantly pushing that message that it is an investment in our future to invest in the arts. So that economic development piece has to be hand in hand with arts development as well as small business retention, right?
That's the thing, right? People with small businesses. So you do buy local, right? So they can survive. And the more that survives, the more it's just a trickle. It's a trickle down. And then everything survives, right?
Exactly.
Then everything, everything like just works right together, and one thing fails, it affects the other, and right.
We're not talking about failing. We're talking about thriving.
Yeah, that's right. So we are We are talking about thriving.
We are,
and it will. Carmel's thrived, and I think it will continue to thrive.
You look at Republic Airlines is bringing in 293 people every day. Every day they're going to eat somewhere.
That's right.
Right. They're going to use our parks. They're going to enjoy our paths and amenities. They're going to post pictures about our community. That's just one little thing that's happening. But we need our small business to support that big business that's here. We need to get them to some shows, right, while they're in town and need a little break from their flight simulator training.
That's right. Yeah.
So all good stuff happening.
Yeah, right. Supporting live theater, right?
Yes. Yes.
Which is so important, and that's why that center is so important to the community. Well, first thing, thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate
and
it.
Sue Finkam,
You're awesome
she
too.
is running for mayor of Carmel on the Republican ticket. And vote. Just vote. Vote, vote, vote. I can't say who to vote for, but just vote. Get out there and vote so your voice is heard, and that way you have a say.
Absolutely.
In what's happening in your community. Thank you so much for joining us. This was Lunch Break with ATI. Cindy Collins, one of the co-founders here, and we'll see you next time. Toodaloo.
Thank you.